You can get what you want without needing to force it. You can get what you want without needing to overexert your energy, give too much, people please, be exhausted. You don't have to be inauthentic. You don't have to sacrifice yourself for the needs of others. You don't have to do what you hate every day. You don't have to feel sick doing it. And you don't have to do things out of extrinsic motivation all the time just to get the things that you really want. You can actually do things out of your own intrinsic motivation. You can actually feel connected to yourself and get what you want. You can be present in the moment and get what you want. You can feel aligned with your soul's path and get what you want. You can feel a sense of flow and harmony in the present and get what you want. You can rest and get what you want. You can be healthy and well and get what you want. You can respect your energy levels and get what you want. Not overgiving to the point of exhaustion and still get what you want. Not overworking and still get what you want. You can authentically express yourself regardless of whether people accept you or reject you and still get what it is you really want. And in this context, I would really urge you to start digging into what is it that I truly want. And this isn't about endlessly chasing wants, right, on some sort of just like material level. And there's nothing wrong with wanting anything material as well. It's needed for survival, right? But the wants that I'm talking about here are more aligned with the core of your being. It's not like a 10-year-old wanting on Christmas and then when they don't get what they want, they snap. This is a more conscious want, right? This is a more self-connected want. This is more so about what does your soul want to be experiencing here on planet Earth kind of want. You see, it's easy to fall into the trap of like listening to too much spirituality or like a Buddha quote and like desire is bad, right? You interpret it like that, right? Or like the material world is bad and money's bad and like wanting is bad. The truth is that you're going to want for the rest of your life. This wanting mechanism is never going to go anywhere. You will always have wants. You're going to want to eat food, be around the people who you want to be around. You're going to want to do things that you want to be doing. Right? So you might as well really begin to decipher what it is that you really want versus what it is you're doing because you've been conditioned to be doing that thing and you've convinced yourself that you want it. So we have to dig into the wants that we actually really have and determine whether or not it's something that is really coming from intrinsic motivation, a sense of passion, a sense of vitality and energy coming from ourselves, a sense of creativity and curiosity, a sense of excitement, a sense of well-being, versus just wanting approval out of like fear, wanting money, wanting more sex, wanting to just be loved and accepted by others, wanting fame and status. And the thing is, there's nothing bad about any of that stuff, right? Actually, demonizing that stuff is an issue because the truth is that you need a lot of that stuff. That's how being a human works, right? Wanting to just eat more tasty food, etc. The truth is that you're going to have a lot of desires for those kinds of things for the rest of your life. The thing is you can have a lot of that stuff and not need to sacrifice your intrinsic motivation to get those things, right? Because I guarantee you what you really want isn't really those things of just more sex and more money and more achievement and more status and more fame. I guarantee you what feels more right for you and healthy for you is the stuff that you want that is born or arising from your intrinsic motivation. To express yourself creatively, to feel good in your own body, to be able to be authentic and feel safe being authentic. Right? To be connected to the present, connected to other people as well, in ways that are meaningful for you. To have a sense of purpose and meaning in your life in a way that you've consciously constructed so that it really fits you. It fits your psychology. So the things that your soul, like the deepest instincts inside of you, really want, you do not have to force them. You do not have to sacrifice yourself. You don't have to hustle and grind. Right? In our culture, we've been conditioned to just hustle. If we have a goal, we have to hustle, and it's got to be painful, and we have to force our way there, and it's a fight. You don't have to do any of that. It doesn't have to be painful like that. It really doesn't. These are just a set of beliefs that our culture conditions people with, and then the way that they relate to their goals is one of force and hustle. And like, I gotta work hard, right? Just feel into the energy of like, work hard, right? It's so forceful, it's so disconnected. It's so just lacking in being grounded and present. It's so lacking in a sense of having an open heart. You can have an open heart and get what you want. So the thing about growing up in a culture or any kind of context is that there's this sort of energetic component, this emotional component, right? And it's almost like in the air, right? You feel the energy of people, their ideas. You feel their presence. And growing up, you have absolutely no ability to reflect for yourself. So all the reflections of other people become your sense of identity and your own reflections. Your whole sense of self and reality. And that conditioning doesn't go anywhere until you dive into it and then really begin to take a good look at it and throw out what is just pure BS. So the energetic component, it's almost like we're swimming in our culture's energy, the energy of our parents, the unconsciousness of culture and parents and people. Children swim in this stuff, they bathe in this, and it conditions them because they have nothing to reference. They have nothing to orient themselves around. They don't have a strong sense of self. It has to be developed out of something. And once the ego is formed, right, now you can deconstruct it, you can transcend. Right? And of course, our culture is wake up at 3 a.m., hustle and grind for what you want to get to the top, and it's just money and status. But of course, it's psychologically impossible to actually really be fulfilled that way. You're completely missing out on human needs, right? Your needs for self-actualization and self-transcendence, which is where like the most fulfillment is found within human existence, and then bringing those higher needs into the lower needs of your connections, your career, making money, eating food, right? Mindfully eating food, making money in ways that are aligned with your soul, having a career that aligns with you, having relationships that align with you, conscious sexuality. It's bringing consciousness into all the lower needs, right? This is integration. You're bringing the higher into the lower and the lower into the higher. You're bringing self-transcendence into all the lower stuff, right? And all the sort of lower stuff are ways that you can also go beyond. Right? Each moment, each experience, is the doorway to deeper connection and deeper insight about yourself, about existence. Right? Reality isn't a mechanical clockwork machine. This is a complete delusion by our culture. Reality is an intelligent organism. It's consciousness. And your own intrinsic motivation is like your guiding system, your guidance system, right? It's like it's trying to put you on the path that you're in a sense kind of meant for. It fits you well, right? Like a shoe that fits you well. But because of fear and conditioning and doing things out of approval, right, and just kind of being conditioned into extrinsic motivation, you turn away from it. Right? Because in school and by parents and by culture, we're conditioned to do things out of extrinsic motivation. Basically, get good grades, achieve. Right? Do your homework, not because you want to, not because it really means anything to you, but because if you don't do it, we're going to punish you. If you don't do it, you're in trouble. Right? If you don't do it, if you don't do well in school, you're not going to have a life. If you don't do well in school, you're going to be broke and you're going to be miserable. Right? Why do you believe that you need to be acting out of extrinsic motivation in order to get the things that you want? See, this is a core belief to really begin to look at. And the second that starts to crumble, your whole life begins to reorganize around the new principles that you have. Because your life is always organizing itself around your own consciousness, around the level of your development, of your own values, of your own sense of identity, of your own level of consciousness. Your life organizes itself around that. So really look into, why do you believe that you need to be doing stuff that you really hate in order to survive? Why can't you do things you enjoy? Of course, there's a lot of proof of people doing things that they really love and being even more successful than people who do things that they hate. So when we've been conditioned to do things out of approval over and over and over and over again, needing approval and validation and all this stuff, right? We're actually doing it out of fear. So we're kind of being conditioned to be afraid, and this habit of acting out of extrinsic motivation pulls us away from our intrinsic motivation. It disconnects you from yourself. To the point where if I talk about self-connection, people, some people can start to value it. Some people are on board. Some people will call me a hippie. Some people will say it's full of bullshit, right? There's people who will say that these ideas are like high in the clouds and just fluffy, right? But have you ever actually tried it? Have you ever practically started doing a lot of these things? This doesn't mean abandon your life. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying abandon your life, right? Probably have real world responsibilities, bills to pay, things like this. But what I'm saying is that you can, in a sense, timeline shift. You can align to the version of you, right? Typically it'll happen, there's going to be a process that happens. It'll happen kind of slowly, right? You can align to a version of you that actually feels rested and you have your needs met. It feels well and you have your needs met. You can get what you want and you're not disconnected and struggling and fighting, right? This isn't just like, abandon all your responsibilities and, nothing like that. It's not nothing immature like that. That's foolishness. What I'm saying is that you can slowly align to the version of you who acts out of intrinsic motivation. Of course, there's all that pre-existing conditioning of fear and acting out of extrinsic motivation that's still there, and it's going to be sucking you back in. And it'll have thoughts of like, oh, I can't do that, right? Or that's hippy-dippy. It'll actually start, that conditioning will start attacking these ideas, because these ideas threaten the status quo. And your status quo is trying to survive. Your conditioning is trying to maintain itself. Right, so counterintuitively, it's not about demonizing your conditioning, right? Trying to remove it, get rid of it. It's actually about coming into a place of acceptance and respect for your own conditioning. It's helped you to survive up until this point in the environment that you find yourself existing in. Right, so respecting it, actually coming into a place of compassion for how smart of a being you actually are. For the fact that a human can adapt and pick up all this stuff that they get from their environment in order to fit into it so that they can survive. This is very complicated stuff. This is very profound stuff, right? But it's just once you're an adult, you have the capacity to start digging into this stuff and start really constructing a life based off of your own authenticity, based off of the things that organically arise from in you, basically within yourself. Building your life off of things that really feel meaningful to you. Things that fit you well. Right, this is 100% possible. And this whole process of shifting to that is going to bring up a lot of the triggers and pre-existing conditioning, which is why I always emphasize having a meditation practice in your life so you can process a lot of that old conditioning. There's no real shift, no deep psychological shift without awareness, right? I'm going to say this phrase, right? And it's not a corny self-help phrase, right? If you want to change your life, right, you have to go into your psyche and rewire it. You need a deep psychological change, a structural change. Because like I said, your life is organizing itself around your values, around your level of consciousness, around your sense of self, around your ego. Right? So you can change your life. This isn't a sort of corny self-help thing. Right? And you can have a lasting change. But lasting changes require a development over time. A real solid change goes to the very foundation of yourself. And then we build from there. It's not a surface level thing. This is like a deep, we're digging really far down here. Because the thing is you have to understand that you build your life upon certain patterns of getting approval and overexerting energy and force and ego, right? And like the very foundation is corrupted, and it's like that corrupted and molding and just like unstable foundation, psychological foundation that we have to go into and start, in a sense, kind of like cleaning it up so that you can stand firmly upon it. So that, in a sense, you can work in a more lubricated way, right? You get an oil change on your car, so your car doesn't break down. You need it too. You have sort of like gears in a sense. And awareness is kind of like the lubrication. Awareness is what begins to process all the old stuff that's just acting in robotic, mechanical, clunky ways. Right? So you can have a life that feels organic and natural and aligned with you without always needing to force. In fact, force. This is the problem. This is a very primitive way of going after what it is you want. Letting go of force, surrendering and opening up. This is how to allow what you want to enter your life. So this doesn't mean you don't take action, right? This doesn't mean you don't do anything, you sit on the couch all day. This means that the actions that you take, instead of them always being draining and exhausting, they give you energy. The actions that you take excite you. They make you feel vital. Kind of like, for example, when I was very young, I would play a lot of soccer because I loved soccer. I would run and like get sweaty and, and all that stuff, and it would make me feel very alive. Right? Why? Because it was like an actual intrinsically motivating thing. Whereas if you sat me down and you got me to do a bunch of schoolwork that I didn't really want to do, I would start, getting distracted by stuff because I didn't want to give it my attention. I was stubborn. I didn't want to do it. It wasn't a good fit for me. And I could feel that. Right? So of course, like I said, this doesn't mean that you don't take action. You'll still be taking action. It's just that the place from where the action comes from is either one of surrender, flow, connection, rest, well-being, rejuvenation, or from low energy levels, force, attachment to outcome. It's these mechanisms that we would have to look at and dismantle so that you can get what you want, but in a smooth way, in a way that doesn't create so much suffering, in a way that's not so clunky, in a way that's not so mechanical, in a way that's not so unconscious. That's it for this video. If you're interested in working with me, you can book a call. Link is in the pinned comment and the description. I only take fairly serious applicants. It's not for everyone. My coaching is not for everyone. It's for very, very specific people who are extremely sincere. Take it easy.